A Republican congressman from Florida is now openly questioning Ron DeSantis' commitment for the Jewish community, having previously flipped to former President Donald Trump. After being rejected by DeSantis earlier this year, a state legislator is actively enlisting the support of more of his peers to join the Trump campaign. In the meantime, a group of former DeSantis political operators who had strained relations with the governor have since become well established in the Trump orbit and are driven to cause embarrassment to their former employer. Part of Trump's advantage in the struggle for home state supremacy has come from taking advantage of divisions between DeSantis and Florida Republicans. The plan has worked out more smoothly than the previous president's administration had hoped, since DeSantis' rise to political prominence has left a trail of animosity in the state. The dynamic relationship between Florida's Republicans and these two prominent people will be evident when the 2024 campaign makes its way to the state in the coming days. At a state party gathering on Saturday just outside Orlando, where support for both candidates will be keenly monitored, Trump, DeSantis, and the other contenders in the GOP primary will speak to Florida Republicans. During his midday slot, DeSantis is positioned between his antagonistic predecessor in Tallahassee, Florida Senator Rick Scott, and State Representative Randy Fine, the sole Jewish Republican lawmaker in the state. Recently, Fine claimed that DeSantis hasn't gone far enough in preventing Nazis and anti-Semitism in Florida. Fine shifted to support the former president last month, while Scott declared on Thursday that he was endorsing him. Two of Trump's closest Florida allies, Reps Byron Donalds and Matt Gaetz, will fuel Republicans in the room before Trump concludes the program with the keynote address. The Republican Party will then host its third presidential debate in Miami on Wednesday. Once again, Trump is missing the debate and has counter-programming booked in Hialeah, a short distance away. The next day, DeSantis will attend state fundraisers while Trump continues his courting of party officials and donors by hosting Florida Republicans at Mar-a-Lago. Simultaneously, as an indication of DeSantis' sustained authority over the state legislature, which is controlled by the Republicans, legislators will convene in Tallahassee the next week at his insistence to enact further penalties against Iran in response to Hamas's assault on Israel earlier this month. They will also have to deal with the state's property insurance crisis, which keeps making headlines back home for DeSantis. Once unchallenged, the governor's power in the Sunshine State has been under constant attack in recent months. Less than a year after he masterminded the most lopsided political triumph in Florida gubernatorial history, DeSantis' difficulties as a presidential contender have encouraged some Republicans in this area to defect. The early nominating states and national surveys show that Trump has a strong lead, while the former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, is leading the pack. The Iowa caucuses are quickly coming. Over the previous 10 years, he has made a lot of enemies who have consistently stood in the way of his attempts to reclaim his position as the state's leading political figure. DeSantis dismissed Fine as someone looking for 15 minutes of fame, but supporters of the governor are preparing for an increasing number of state legislators to switch sides. According to a DeSantis aide, up to 6 Republicans in the legislature, mostly new members elected last year, are expected to change their allegiance. In an effort to entice more Republicans to support Trump, State Senator Joe Gruters, a former state party chair whom DeSantis frequently courted, is assisting. He stated that he anticipates announcing a pretty good group in the upcoming weeks. Though he acknowledged that most lawmakers would still support DeSantis, he ascribed this to the governor's ability to veto legislation on line items. He was personally affected by this when DeSantis removed his projects from the state budget earlier this year because Gruters backed Trump. Gruters has achieved another significant victory for Trump in the Sunshine State, defeating a bid by DeSantis supporters to compel presidential contenders to sign a loyalty oath in order to be considered on Florida's primary ballot. The resounding vote to reject the plan proved how popular Trump remains with Republican Party officials and dealt a devastating blow to DeSantis supporters. Gruters remarked, "That was like throwing the hammer down. It reaffirmed that this is the party of the president." The majority of Republican members, according to State House Speaker Paul Renner, support Ron DeSantis because he has shown he is better suited to take the GOP's victories in Florida to a national level.